Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to a very different kind of race here for the International IndyCar League, and we are so happy to be traveling overseas as it is, away from the rest of the US-based schedule, to arrive here in Belgium at one of the most famous tracks on planet Earth. Of course, it is the Circuit de SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS, one of the most classic tracks in Formula One, and certainly for many series based over in Europe. And so it's so great to have you with us here on VirtualRacing.Network. Once again, I'm Trevor Greenfield, bringing you all of today's action play calling from the headquarters here near Seattle, Washington. And it's so great that we can actually be doing this because, hey, 15 drivers showing up, making the trip all the way overseas from where most of them are based here in the United States. Some of the drivers coming from Australia, from Spain, but we all meet up virtually here at iRacing's SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS circuit, and all these drivers get a chance today to add their name to the very famous list of drivers who have won here in the past. So let's get ready for today's action. The drivers are now just heading out onto track, and we're going to be getting qualifying going. So once again, so great to have you with us here as we are now on the back half of the season for season 16, and it's been a interesting one at that. As you see, what I originally termed as the pink pig, of course, it's Kirby on board Jason Lowe's rescue ranch machine there, and he's had some ups and downs, but I tell you what, Jason Lowe took over the points lead early on, and he hasn't really looked back. He's been consistent. He's tried to keep that car clean and kind of do a little bit more of race by race, just approaching it each and every race with some caution, but trying to make it through the race and get a good finish, and that has paid off as he's now the points leader and continuing to move away into those points, out in front of Graham Bunyan and David Strid. So we'll take a look at the points here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and put some sector times up there so you can see what's going on with your favorite drivers. Currently, nobody has yet set a time, and I believe we have, I don't see the exact amount of time remaining. Perhaps if we get our timing tower up there, it might tell us. And unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure how long this session is going to go. I know that a lot of times in official racing, you can get caught out when you're qualifying and only be able to get in one lap. So I would say either way, if you're a driver out there, you want to be aiming to probably get that first lap in and get it in the books and try and get a solid qualifying effort in. One of the reasons is because as you approach turn one, it narrows down. Of course, it's basically a hairpin. And so getting a clean start here at this track and being up towards the front is a big advantage and could give you as much as 5 or 10 seconds on that opening lap. So as we see Jason Lowe putting in his first lap, we'll come back to him. Here's another driver, frequent racer here in the International IndyCar League, Mike West, fellow Washingtonian. And it's once again just so cool that we have so many drivers from all around getting to come to such a historic international track. And of course, this is the first time, at least since I've been covering here on VirtualRacing.Network this league, that they visited Spa. So just part of that expansion and the renaming that's been going on of the league and the rebranding, and now a chance to visit some overseas circuits. The only real problem with that concept is that there's so few international ovals that are available. I mean, I don't really blame iRacing. There just aren't that many international ovals, but there are a couple in Europe between Lausitzring and the old Rockingham facility. Now, Mauro MJ Ramirez, first one to put his name at the top of that list, but very quickly, Jason Lowe, as you can see, getting to the very tippy top, a 1:55.86 that time by for Jason Lowe, and that's right in the line of what I was seeing before in terms of fast times. So I'm seeing some drivers actually out there on black tires. I don't know if that's maybe our software that's glitching, but Dan Ensch, a 1:57.55, currently second fastest. Howard Livingston back in the cockpit this week. So great to have him back. I mean, last season it was all about that broken foot. This season, it was, it's been a number of things, but recovering again from that broken foot, and then further having this recent issue with the Hurricane Ian, and unfortunately costing him a week of, well, fortunately it was just internet access and some cleanup for him, but obviously a lot of people greatly affected down there in Florida, and obviously our hearts go out to anybody who was affected, and certainly those who did lose their lives in that terrible storm that came through. But you can see the new name up there at the top. Actually, now two new names poking their name up there at the top. Well, they're not so new if you've been watching here on VirtualRacing.Network. Graham Bunyan and David Strid now holding down the top two positions. 1:55.60 for Graham Bunyan, 1:55.79 for David Strid. And then you got Jason Lowe, 1:55.86. And I'll tell you what, I think Jason would take that. If I recall correctly, he was saying his fastest time was actually a 1:56 prior to this. So getting into the 55s, that's some, yeah, he's right there just 0.3 off of Graham Bunyan. So that's some pretty amazing stuff. David Strid there you see on screens on his cool down lap. Dominic Harte continuing here, and yeah, I think there's a chance all these drivers are going to get in possibly 2 laps. So as I see the time extending out to about 8 minutes, that's best, I think, for tracks like this, road courses where it's well over a minute lap time. That gives everybody a chance to get in 2 laps. We can see here Dominic Harte, one of the fastest drivers in the International IndyCar League. Usually we get a chance to see a little blip of his speed on the ovals. Here today he's going to be able to qualify 5th provisionally, so we'll watch on. Manuel Gomez Esteban back out there. You know, he's been in, he's been out, he's been in, he's been out. But it's great to have Manuel back in the field this week. Always great to have some more of our international component drivers. So, and by the way, if you're out there watching right now, a couple of things to let you know about. If you do find yourself aching to get out there and try to race in this International IndyCar League, you want to be a part of the show, come on out. Just click down in the description. If you're part of iRacing and you've done any sort of IndyCar racing online, you've got the basic license safety qualifications, just hit that link down in the description of this video, and you will be taken over to the iRacing member page where you will get a chance to apply and come out, I think, on a Saturday practice session and show that you can handle the car, and then you'll be part of the show. So you'll be talking to Jason Lowe, and that's always a pleasure. You'll get a nice introduction to Mr. Lowe. And speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and take the moment? We can take a look at some of these points as they are right now. Get that up on the screen there for you while we wait for this one to go official and give us our qualifying order for the day. There it is. Jason Lowe, your current points leader in the International IndyCar League through 6 races. Graham Bunyan climbing up the charts. He's had such a difficult go of it. Some incidents not his fault. Just all kinds of stuff going on for Graham, but he's managed to get up there into the 2nd position. He climbed 2 spots this last week, overcoming David Strid. Strid having a really rough week this last week in Michigan. And I believe that we're still qualifying out there, so it's going to take a few more moments. We'll get the ticker up above so you can keep track with where everybody is at. I don't see anybody else left to qualify out there or anybody making an attempt. But as you can see there, the rest of the standings, as we do finally go checkered on the session, David Strid qualifying third, Dan Ensch fourth. Great qualifying effort there for Dan. I'm sorry, great place in the points there for Dan in fourth place. He has now fallen out of that third spot that he was in, as Graham Bunyan has now overtaken David Strid and Dan Ensch. But you see the rest there on the screen. It's still a lot to play for in terms of points, and always keeping tabs on those bonus points. Well, we'll get that off of the screen and take a look at our final qualifying order and how they will start for today's race here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's round number 7. And if we can get it correct there you go. It'll be Graham Bunyan starting on pole position. There's only 2 drivers that have taken pole positions this season, and Graham Bunyan one of them. So he adds to that tally. David Strid taking second, so he and Strid will own the front of this race, at least to start. We'll see whether or not they can make it through Eau Rouge and the rest and still stay in front. Second row will be Jason Lowe, points leader, as you just saw. Starting alongside will be Dan Ensch with a great qualifying effort, getting that ALZ.org Last Lap Motorsports machine up there onto that second row. Third will be Dominic Harte. Fourth, Mauro MJ Ramirez. And then we've got, try to get some cameras out there and get you some visuals on what's happening today. There we go. Mauro MJ Ramirez there on the outside of row 3. Row 4 will be Manuel Gomez Esteban and David Worrell, Dave in the Cave. Also back in the field this week, Howard Livingston making a great return as well to the cockpit. I think there's a small round of applause every time that he can show up. And certainly, again, after the hurricane, it's just great to see him being able to get back out there and participate. I should let you know that Jason Lowe, his internet down in Florida, did also experience some issues this week. And so he's kind of on the edge as to whether he's going to be able to make it through the whole race. We sure hope that he can. Starting alongside Howard Livingston will be Will Stearns. Just behind is going to be Rick Lovison and Robert Barnicow. Bringing up the back of the field will be Rick Lovison. As I mentioned, Robert Barnicow and Iñigo Mardones, Mike West, and Jimmy Drennan. So the cars now following behind the safety car as we get set to turn them loose and get today's action underway. David Strid following right behind that safety car. It's going to wait for after we get past the hairpin. Guess this is a little bit of a different way of starting, so we'll wait for them to go by, and then it will be pace car will pull off and we'll be starting on this next straightaway. There's on board with Strid, and Strid appears to have fallen back quite dramatically. I'm not sure why everyone else has gone ahead, but there you go. So it's actually Graham Bunyan who leads us down. It was Strid who was in the lead. I wasn't sure if they were just trading positions for the start, but there you go. Bunyan does actually lead us down. Strid in second, Jason Lowe in third, and he's already looking. You see that bright pink car trying to make moves. He's going to hold position, as are the rest, and then you can see Dave Worrell actually able to take that position away from Mauro MJ Ramirez. So put Dave Worrell up into 6. Back at the front, though, it is Graham Bunyan currently in the lead and not really slowing down. Starting to pull a small gap on David Strid, and there's Jason Lowe just behind. You can see Lowe really close to the back of Strid. I think there he goes. He is trying to make a move. No, he doesn't. He tucks back in. So Lowe tries to look for a way past Strid on this opening lap. Now, these two drivers starting on red tires, Graham Bunyan starting on black tires, Dan Ensch on black tires, most of the rest of the field on black tires. So we'll see how this works out for these two drivers, and squeezing by ever so close, Jason Lowe, and now he manages to slot in between the two Australians. So Jason Lowe snagging that position from David Strid, move him up into second. I think Lowe has the bit between his teeth. In the meantime, Manuel Gomez Esteban up 2 spots so far, and I think that's because Will Stearns has drifted back. We do, I'm not getting any notes on anybody having any moments, but Stearns has lost a position, and Dominic Harte has actually dropped back 8 spots since the start. So I'm not, once again, really not sure what has happened to Harte, but a number of these drivers having incidents. And now Jason Lowe takes his look down the inside on that long straightaway, makes the pass on Graham Bunyan. So move Jason Lowe up into the point. Your points leader now at the front of this race. And that's, once again, it's something that I think he has to do, given the fact that he has those red tires on, and he'll be wanting to make maximum use of those tires while they're still in that peak performance category, because they will degrade significantly faster. Now, very important to take a look here also, as we see in the background, looks like Graham Bunyan now starting to come under attack from his pseudo teammate David Strid, and Dan Ensch trying to hold off a hard-charging Manuel Gomez Esteban just behind as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather. It's not too hot out there. We're not seeing triple digits, certainly as far as the track temp goes. So now we are seeing some heat on the track, though. You just saw it, David Strid sliding by Graham Bunyan. So Bunyan now back into third. 5-time defending champion Graham Bunyan now starting to struggle on those black tires to get them up to speed. And as those red tires, the alternates coming in for David Strid and Jason Lowe, they are able to make some time and pull out quite a gap. So looking back, Dan Ensch there in 4th place. Started in 4th, he's running in 4th. That machine has managed to be very successful this season, as I said, for quite a long time in that 3rd position in the championship, and now drifting back into 4th as Graham Bunyan has come back through the points field. But nevertheless, last time out, Jason Lowe at the front. Fastest lap of the race of 1:58.92 with race fuel, so Lowe really starting to put in some fast sectors and some fast times. Seeing a little bit further back, this is Iñigo Mardones in 9th place. He's just gotten around Dominic Harte. Sorry, he passed Rick Lovison for that 9th position, and here comes Harte to possibly challenge him. So Harte behind in that white, red, and blue livery, following the Necky Racing livery here for Iñigo Mardones in the pink, black, and white, synonymous with the rest of his teammates who share that same livery across all of iRacing and the official racing that they do and the league racing that they do. Speaking of which, Dominic Harte checking in beforehand, saying good luck everybody, and there he goes by Howard Livingston. So Dominic Harte picking up that spot. Howard Livingston dropping back now 1 spot from where he started, back to 10th. Harte now up to 9th. Iñigo Mardones at the front of this trio, now up into the 8th position. So We've got Mauro Ramirez having an off track right now. Just happened to catch that. And you see Manuel Gomez-Esteban snagging that position, that 5th place right back. Gomez-Esteban actually kind of performing well here today. And certainly Iñigo Mardones checking in also over on YouTube. Good luck to everyone. And hi, Trevor. Hey, great to hear from you. Great to see you out there. Always a pleasure to have you in the field, Iñigo. And unfortunately, you're getting passed on the track at the moment that I say that, but you're up 4 positions, so it's kind of like, yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But you know, sometimes on a big track like this, especially with the momentum that you have, it's just so much more about just keeping the car on track. You know, it's about not getting your feathers ruffled too much. If somebody passes you and starts to walk off into the distance, certainly for Iñigo, racing with those black tires, car that just passed him on red tires, it's something that you know, certainly you have to be aware of, is that these drivers that are out there on those red tires are going to be going faster than you on the black tires until they start to kick off, start to degrade, start to wear, start to overheat. All of these things as definite possibility, as there are a couple of very hard braking zones. Now, for me, the hardest place on this track is that final curve in the background. Apologize, I don't have all of the names up here. Let's see if I can pull that information up so that I can give you exact names. Of course, that, well, I stupidly forgot it was La Source hairpin. How could I forget? But the chicane coming into it is what I'm talking about. 18 and 19 leading towards La Source. That final 18-19 corner is, there's just something about coming under hard braking there that wants to upset the car. And so certainly you have the ability to adjust the brake bias. That's one of the best things you can do. But the harder that you come onto those brakes there, and the quicker that you're trying to shift the car down into the correct gear, etc., you can really break the tires loose. And it's very easy to do. We've got a car off. It's Manuel Gomez-Esteban. I just heard the crunching and looked, and unfortunately, my goodness me, he was having such a good run of it. But that machine now damaged. So let's go ahead and take a look back here and see what happened. We'll jump on board with Gomez-Esteban here. That's coming through. Oh my goodness, the Fanya's curves. And wow, really doing a number there. Actually, that's a little bit before Pujol, but very close, very, very close to saving it. Unfortunately, just got it a little loose under acceleration. So we go back to the live picture, and there's Jason Lowe continuing to lead. He hasn't put a wheel wrong yet. You can hear the crowd kind of cheering. They must be seeing the replays up there on the television monitor. It's great. Once again, have to, you know, really throw the kudos out to all these virtual fans. Hundreds of thousands of virtual fans turning out each and every week, selling out all of the available tickets to that are available for purchase for these virtual fans, and just packing those stands. It's really a phenomenal thing. Jump on board with David Strid. Severe wind noise, really, as you get down to that, the end of that straightaway, up over 200 miles per hour. It's again so great to have you with us here on VirtualRacing.Network, bringing you the International IndyCar League's round number 7. We do have David Worrell. Unfortunately, here's Robert Barnicow in the pits, so he'll pull it into the pits, but we do have Worrell, I believe, having a moment. He's had an off track, so let's go back and see what took place here. This is Iñigo Mardones approaching Worrell, and did he get into him? He may have just scared him. It could have been netcode contact. I'm not really sure. We could go back and look, though. We'll watch out of the gearbox on Worrell's machine. Is there contact? No, I don't think so. I mean, if there was, it was from 10 feet away. It's just possible, though, that Worrell was looking in his mirrors and saw the approaching car, and maybe made him think a couple of times about the braking zone. Either way, Iñigo Mardones marching up into 7th place. He's gained 6 positions so far today. Thought we might have a couple of Spaniards in the top 5, the way that it was looking with Manuel Gomez Esteban and Iñigo Mardones, but it looks like Gomez is going to be out, and Iñigo Mardones is going to have to carry that flag banner himself. But here we are on lap number 7 here of 35. Jason Lowe has taken over control from Graham Bunyan on the start. Actually, on the second lap, I believe it was, he took that position, made it stick. Trying to find you the exact replay. And here we go. Here's another look at it. On board with Jason Lowe as he made that pass down the straightaway. Easy thing to do with all that drafting ability. Not so sure if he was on push to pass. No, actually he was not, because I see that he has all of his push to pass remaining. Now, this was a moment later from Worrell. Did he, I think this is just the same incident. And so he brought it back on track. And so that pretty much catches you up with our race notes in terms of who's been going off track. It's actually, now we've got note that Dan Ensch is off track. So there you go, the off track starting to catch up with these drivers. Now, they were concerned ahead of time that the typical incident level of 17 incidents before you're disqualified, or I think it's 21 or 22 that you get before you are officially disqualified from the race. They felt like, the administration here felt like that was going to be too low with the amount of opportunities to go off track here at Spa-Francorchamps. So they extended it by quite a great amount, but that doesn't mean you get away scot-free. If you go off track and you put wheels in the dirt, or hit the wall, obviously you're going to do more damage than just getting penalized by iRacing. So definitely got to keep the car clean and under control and survive 35 laps, and then sort of look up at the end and figure out where you finished. And you imagine back in the day too, that was probably how it was for Formula One as well. So we look here at Rick Lovison, but we've also got Will Stearns and Mike West possibly having an issue. Go back to this note. Here's Mike West. Oh my goodness. Nearly getting into the back of Will Stearns. Will Stearns coming to a rest. They almost hit each other again, but fortunately it all clears up. Our note said that they had crashed. Now look at this. Here's Mike West now making his move and easily getting by the red, white, and black machine of Will Stearns there. So move Mike West back up into the 11th position. Now up 3 spots from where he started. And again, here's Jason Lowe. Now it looks to me like David Strid is catching him. He's getting certainly much closer here. So we'll try to get you some information. And there you can see the time difference. It's kind of, it's come down a little bit. Jason Lowe now pulling over. Jason Lowe now making his entry to the pits. Sorry, I'm just so... This is the classic pits. I'm just not even close to being used to watching drivers make this entry to the pits. Generally speaking, that little gap where Jason just pulled over, as Jason Lowe now in the pits, Mauro, MJ Ramirez, Dominic Harte, Iñigo Mardones, all receiving service at this point. Those were all drivers, I believe, that were on red tires. David Strid on red tires right now. Last lap, a 159.48. So his lap times haven't quite fallen off to the point where you would say he's got to come in, but it's close. So the point I was making earlier about Jason Lowe and coming into the pits is usually that's just one of those spots that you just pull over and park, and it's usually closed off to enter the pits there. So it's kind of strange to watch someone actually be able to enter the pits there, but the choice made to go with the classic pits version, and I think that's a great move. It's just much easier, I think, to get started, cleanly after the La Source hairpin, because really it does give a chance. It's sort of like Long Beach, in that it gives a chance for the leaders to kind of form up, but everyone else is still a little bit spread out behind, and that's probably better, because having 15 cars all charging into the same corner right behind each other is what causes multiple car incidents. So you always want to have a little bit of separation as they're coming down into turn one, ideally. And so David Strid now in pit lane, making his way down to make his first pit stop of the day. There you can see Graham Bunyan and Dan Ensch also into the pits, taking on that service. So the question is, where will this put our championship leader, Jason Lowe, as you see Strid just getting out ahead of Graham Bunyan. Now, Strid able to get on the gas a little faster than Bunyan, so he's already pulled out about a second, but look at this up in front. There's Jason Lowe sliding by. So they're all back together again. No significant time gained or lost, but they are a little bit closer than they were when they first went in. Jason Lowe doing the job of getting the pit stops done efficiently, and that's putting David Strid in a position to have to try to make a pass instead of inheriting the lead. So we'll watch on here as Lowe continues once again with red tires. He and David Strid with those red tires on right now. Fortunately, we don't have the ability to show you that in this particular graphic, but just trust me. Let's trust me, come on. I'm telling you the truth. Jason Lowe, David Strid on those red tires. Graham Bunyan, the first on the black tires. He started on black tires. He's still running on the black tires. So, Graham ain't dumb. I'm sure ain't is not one of the words that is frequently coming out of Graham's mouth in Australia, but he is not a dumb guy in terms of what tires to utilize, and so there is a reason why he's utilizing the black tires. He may be deciding to go for an extra long stint at one of these points. If they all came in on lap 9 or 10, then you saw some brake smoke there, so I'm not sure if that was from Strid or Lowe. Lowe setting the fastest Sector 2 time this last time by. But certainly Graham opting for the more longevity tires, and so it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out, because you got your front two runners on those red tires, And then you've got third there, Graham Bunyan on black tires. Mauro MJ Ramirez there up into that fourth spot. He's gained 2 spots today. Looking very, very good, using all the track surface. Sign that he's very comfortable with that race car. Let's just hop on board for a minute. Take our visor cam here and just see what it's like to run around Spa-Francorchamps. That Banez, and coming up to turn 15, Curve Paul Frere. Now approaching small kink on the left, that's turn 16. This Blanchimont, turn number 17 here. Now we come into this 18-19 chicane. Of course, a lot of this has changed over the years, from the bus stop to the changing of this chicane. But it seems to have settled into pretty much this format. Now there has been a new resurfacing as we come through La Source hairpin here, which is actually turn number 1 on the track. I'm not sure if it's classified as that because they did start on what is essentially Eau Rouge, which is turn 2. Eau Rouge there, turn 2, turn 3. Classic, mostly flat out. It is flat out for Formula 1. I don't think these drivers can go flat out in IndyCar, at least with this setup. But there, Ramirez on the gas. You hear that wind noise. It's so loud for these drivers. So he makes his way down that Kemmel Straight into Lacombe, and now that was coming into Rivage here. Long right-hand corner, very difficult to get exactly right. No-name corner. And using all that track, I think that might have been a off track there. Through Pujol. That's turns 11 and 12. Now down to this 12-13 Fagnes complex. So beautiful facility, of course, 7 kilometers long at this point, and at one point I believe 14 kilometers long. Used to go through the town, and if you've never seen it, if you're a motorsports fan and you've never seen Grand Prix, look, I know maybe Rush was a little bit more modern and had a little bit more CGI and bells and whistles, but Grand Prix is one of the most evocative films I can remember in terms of the, as you see Robert Barnicow there kind of pulling over and letting these drivers go by. Good on Robert, being aware of where the leaders are. By the way, Robert joining here in the International IndyCar League just some short time ago. He's had some good runs on the ovals. Kind of get a feeling here as he's got a rookie license on the road courses. He doesn't really get a lot of road course racing in, and that's kind of part of the story. But back to Grand Prix, you know, certainly you get a feeling for the way that motorsports used to be, and driving through real roads in real towns at very high speeds. I mean, it was a matter of life and death back in those days. If you crashed, I would say it's, you know, I mean, there is a high percentage chance that you're going to die from that accident, and many did over the years. And certainly nowadays, as we look at Indy cars with, you know, full aero screens, and these drivers using the Hans device, 6-point safety harnesses, and every other crash protection, you know, deforming coach work as they crash, etc. This is actually pretty good stuff. This is pretty good racing that we're watching now too. But it does just really make a statement to the fact that safety certainly back in the 70s, it's part of Rush, the story, is, you know, between Niki Lauda voicing his concerns for the safety of the drivers, and Sir Jackie Stewart, and a number of others really coming to the fore and saying, hey, we need to do something about this. This is just not right that drivers are so unprotected and racing on these tracks that are just, you know, basically the cars are going faster and people can die on them very easily. It's just amazing to see what happens, you know, some 40 years later. Completely different story across motorsports, and certainly in Formula One, Spa-Francorchamps. Now, a very different circuit than it was back in the original days. And again, just looking over in the United States, the same thing at several tracks. Watkins Glen used to race through the roads, and many tracks that no longer exist and have been completely replaced by large amounts of houses and commercial developments. At one point, there were real road races that were going through. And for example, AAA, company that everybody just either gets insurance or can come and get a tow or lockout service available. They have no idea that the AAA were such a huge part of international and certainly United States-based racing back in the day. Of course, United States, a big part of motorsports history internationally, and a lot of drivers coming over from overseas to race in the United States back in the teens and the 20s. And so a lot of these races in the United States were just on public roads, just the same here. I'll mispronounce this, I guarantee you, but Raum Le Essar, I have no idea what I'm saying, but it's a French track that I used to race in Grand Prix Legends, and was an absolutely, it's just one of the most beautiful tracks to be able to race on. That's just another one of those tracks that used to exist on public roads, doesn't anymore. And there's just so many of them, just classic, beautiful tracks that no longer exist, or beautiful temporary road courses that no longer exist. So if anybody ever tries to tell you that modern day street course racing is something new that doesn't belong in motorsports, just kindly remind them that in the beginning days, there were no purpose-built racetracks, and all they did was race on temporary road and street courses, and it was far more dangerous then than it is actually today. Back to the race, though. It's still kind of status quo here. 1, 2, 3. Jason Lowe, David Stritt, and Graham Bunyan. But look at how close this battle is. It's, I mean, this is scintillatingly close racing for being, you know, now 15 laps into this race here at Spa-Francorchamps. And you kind of get this feeling like if David Stritt and Graham Bunyan want to start using some push to pass, if they really feel like they want to go up there and start making some challenges, they just might. So we'll keep watching on, though. And just also keep in mind Jason Lowe and David Stritt on those red tires, Graham Bunyan on the black tires. So you'd have to think that the goal of Graham Bunyan is to simply outsmart, outlast, and outplay. Is that it? But certainly to outlast his infamous nemesis, Jason Lowe, who is on a quest to retake this championship here in the league. And, you know, Lowe has been through the thick of it with Graham Bunyan and other racers here in the league. Certainly part of the different eras of this league and its inception and how it's played out over the seasons. And so Lowe, you know, it wasn't that long ago. We're talking 8 seasons ago. Is it 8? Maybe 9 seasons ago? No, actually, I'm going the wrong direction. 7 seasons ago. Jason Lowe began taking these championships again. 1, 2, 3 in succession. So he got 3 in a row. But then it wasn't very long after that Graham Bunyan got a taste for the real competition in this league. I mean, he had been there since the beginning, but got a taste for this sort of renewed vigor of competition. VirtualRacing.Network starting its coverage full-time of International IndyCar League. And Graham Bunyan, along with David Strid, really mounting a challenge immediately in season 10. And, season 11. Season 10, Jason Lowe took that last championship. Season 11, Graham Bunyan, with a charge, came back and took that championship, and he really hasn't looked back. Now, Bunyan back there in this 101 car, he's gone through his own adversity for sure. Having some sim rig issues and trying to get a new one built. Constant internet issues, as you can imagine, being in Australia, trying to communicate with the rest of the world. You're on an island, and if there's something that severs that connection, you're pretty much SOL. But beyond that, it's been some discomfort recently as well this season, getting surgery and needing to sit out for a little bit of time and get recuperated. But a lot of that is behind now. He's gotten the pieces that he needs for his sim rig, and now it's just kind of dealing with moving forward as Jason Lowe will pull it into the pits. It looks like Jason, they're coming in on lap number 15, the end of lap 15, just heading on to lap 16 this time. So he's going to have to make it, 20 more laps. And that means he's going to have to probably stretch a little bit to do that. So he might be switching. We'll see here whether he goes with the black tires, but he is not. He's sticking with the red tires. So it's possible that Jason may, and we'll keep an eye on this, but if David Strid and Graham Bunyan go further, it's possible that they may be stretching an extra lap than Jason is, and Jason's just taking the fastest route possible. So will Jason have to do an extra pit stop at the end of this one because he can't save enough fuel? That is, that's going to be a tough one to figure out. We'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, Strid in the lead. He'll get a point for leading a lap. Bunyan in second. MJ Ramirez there holding on to third just as he comes onto camera there. It looks like his black tires not gripping as well as they once did, but he keeps it straight, keeps the car on track. Back underway, looking okay. Dan Ensch now in fourth spot. That's where he qualified. But Lowe has already come back out onto the track from the pits, and so currently in fifth position and just 15 or so seconds back from Dan Ensch. So look for Lowe to come back through the field very quickly as the others make their pit stops. Now we're going to see David Strid this time as he passes LaSource. No, he does not pull it into the pits. So once again, he and Graham Bunyan stretching this stint. Now a full going to be 2 laps further than Jason Lowe. As you see Howard Livingston make his way back out. Stays to that inside line, allows Strid and sorta teammate Graham Bunyan behind. I say sorta just because they don't really make it official. And if you would believe what Graham Bunyan says, they're not really always talking. Or at least if they are talking, sometimes they're just ribbing each other and getting frustrated with themselves or getting frustrated with other drivers over the radio. It's not as much of a teammate play as you would suspect, but they are still very good friends. They do race frequently together. They communicate a lot, and I do believe they do share radio communication at times. So Strid and Bunyan sort of working together, and I mean, at some point, you got to start calling in the favors. I mean, it's kind of like, if you're racing for the championship and you got some drivers coming up through the field, you might be saying to your tail gunner back there, hey, keep an eye on that guy, kind of keep him held back. so that I can stay up here in front. And we know that we've seen that in races, but since we don't have the access to their exact communication, it's a little easier said than done. But hey, just 10 laps to go here. Is that right? No, that's not right. 18 laps to go. Apologize. Numbers kind of blending together here. Hey, it's 7:50 in the morning out here on the West Coast, United States, calling this race. How you doing out in your part of the world? Let us know down there in the chat. Say hello. We got a few of you watching us here. We got a bunch of likes. I appreciate that. Likes are always appreciated. You can also make sure you hit that big subscribe button. That's always great as well, too. As you see, David Strid and Graham Bunyan making their way into the pits from the lead. Dan Ensch. Is Dan going to get credit for a lap? Nope. He just tucks his nose into that sorting cone, as it's known. Or as I've termed it now, it's the sorting hat, but it's a sorting cone. It sorts you out whether you'll receive a penalty from iRacing or not for unsafe pit entry. Ensch brings that beautiful purple machine for the Alzheimer's Association Awareness, and ALZ indeed, and we work on that every race, every day. Alzheimer's, one of those things that affects so many, so much, and Graham Bunyan exits the pits back in the lead. So although Jason Lowe got past David Strid, he did not get the better of Graham Bunyan, who gets the good old overcut advantage and manages to take the lead in the pits. I suspect that is going to possibly be one of the last times that we see Graham Bunyan in close proximity, as he knows what to do from this point. Now, he will be a little bit of a sitting duck back there, though, because he is on those black tires, and Jason Lowe, David Strid on those fresh red tires, the alternates, are going to be able to have the speed advantage, at least initially. So we'll watch and see how that one plays out. Back here in fourth place, it is Mauro MJ Ramirez, having made 2 stops. Dominic Harte has actually made 3 stops. He's back in 5th. That's where he started. Now, if I had a chart that would show you his charts through the field, he's been all the way down, I think, at 12th or 13th place. And now he's back into 5th, so good for him. Dan Ensch, after that pit stop, unfortunately putting him back in 6th place. We'll see whether or not he can manage to clip another 1 or 2 spots. Now we have Graham Bunyan making another pit stop. In fact, Graham Bunyan into the pits. So I am not sure what's happened. We do have Graham making that final pit stop, coming in on lap 16. Now, I do not think there's any way for him to fuel up. So I'm wondering if this isn't to serve some sort of a penalty. He did miss his box there. You can see that. Or maybe he didn't. He just came in for just a split second. So I don't even know. That could have been damage repair. I am not 100% sure. But we don't have any sort of a note that he was passed before entering the pits. So there's not really any sort of idea as to why Graham had to pull that one in. But unfortunate for Graham. I mean, this is just one of those things. Unless this is somehow part of the strategy to go... Not really sure how that could play out to your advantage to do an extra pit stop right at this moment. But perhaps there's something that he knows that we don't know. Again, I'm sitting up here trying to do 47 different things at once and can barely do enough math to balance my own checkbook. And these drivers obviously able to, you know, be there kind of glued to their numbers and understand what they're doing. But we'll see how it all plays out. That's the beauty of having this whole race to deal with, is you get to change up your strategy. Look at this battle for the lead, though. The pink and blue machines of Jason Lowe and David Strid fighting it out here on lap number 20, just about to start. Just 15 laps remain here for three-time champion recently, Jason Lowe. David Strid, he's not taken a championship here in the U.S., previously the U.S. IndyCar League. Keep wanting to refer to it as that, but now, of course, the International IndyCar League. So wouldn't it be awesome for David Strid to catch some... and we're seeing that Graham Bunyan has entered the pits again. Not really sure. We're going to flash back here. This is some interesting stuff happening. And I believe this is, yeah, this is just because Graham Bunyan down there in those pits. So interesting stuff. We'll go back to the live picture. Ensch now in 5th, Bunyan in 6th, Iñigo Mardones in 7th, Howard Livingston in 8th, Manuel Gomez-Esteban in 9th, and Mike West, your top 10. Rick Lovison, Robert Barnicow, top 12. David Worrell is in the pits at the moment and just kind of sitting there. Will Stearns out of the race. Jimmy Drennan, I think a DNS today. Yeah, I don't see that he's turned a lap, so Jimmy Drennan unfortunately not able to make the start. Continue to see flashes of notes that don't fully populate on my screen. But Graham, and here is Dan Ensch going off just a little bit there. Still controllable, but Ensch hanging on to the car in 5th place, and that's where he likes to keep it. He's been a top 5 sensation pretty much this whole season. And we do have a note, though, Mike West perhaps having an incident. If I can take a look, or was this just him being a little cautious? Yes, in fact, that's the leaders up, just passing him to put him a lap down. So this was just him kind of pulling off to the side. Our software tells us people crash based off of how fast they're going. So if they slow down too much, and it gives us a little false flag. However, we do have something else going on, and this one is no mistaking. This is Rick Lovison going off track. Quite a ways off track, but bringing it back on. Not such a big issue, actually. Now, Robert Barnicow, though, what has happened with him? It's the final chicane. And we get a little sideways. And we get into the wall. Wow, that's unfortunate. He did a little half spin. Thought he was going to be able to get it back going again. And that front wing removed. Well, I don't know. He came into the pits and repaired it, but yeah, I don't know if the wing is actually gone or not, because apparently the difference between what he sees on his screen and what we see on our screen is possibly he didn't lose his wing, but there you go. It's the beauty of online racing. There's always a chance for some sort of internet glitch to creep in there. Jason Lowe in the lead. It was not that long ago that Graham Bunyan was in the lead, and now Jason Lowe in the lead. Just still can't quite figure out what happened to Graham Bunyan that forced him to come in. He only had to serve a couple of seconds in that box, so one would think that he was actually taking a very quick damage repair. Not really sure. I'm not sure if we'll get a chance to chat with him afterwards, but hopefully we do. And in the meantime, Lowe making his next stop and David Strid continuing on. So now the lead is in David Strid's hands, and look who's taken over second place. As he comes through Eau Rouge, it's none other than Mauro MJ Ramirez. Takes over that spot. And for a driver that puts in as much work as he does for the league, it's always great to see him get a little bit of rewards. Hopefully he can hang on to that position here and snag that second place. I know it would be meaningful for the championship, but also very meaningful as this is an interesting thing. Jason Lowe, because of that pit stop, this is going to be for position. Jason Lowe going to have to pass Graham Bunyan on track for position. And again, this is 1-2 in the championship, so let's watch as they battle for 5th and possibly for 1st in this championship here. Jason Lowe sets up the Rescue Ranch machine, gets the 101 in his targets. And my guess is we're going to see this pass probably on the back straight, which will be coming up here just a moment. And starting to get that draft. He'll drift to the outside of the track. Bunyan covering the inside. Lowe thinks better of it. He knows he would just force himself side by side there, take a chance on losing the car. So he'll take a little breather, reset himself, try and figure out where the next place is he wants to make that attempt. My guess it would be the same place that he made the pass last time. Be just after Eau Rouge, as you see Rick Lovison going off track just a little bit there, and that'll stack up Graham Bunyan a little bit. This could work out to Jason's favor. It depends on how much it gets stacked up here in Eau Rouge. Yeah, he had it back out just a little bit, couldn't carry that momentum with him down this straight, so he'll hold off, wait for Bunyan to clear Rick Lovison there on the outside. And of course, it doesn't matter where Rick is racing in the field. That beautiful machine that he's had this livery for several seasons, and I just never cease to want to just stop and look at it with this Lakeside Lodge, the Berkshire Lakeside Lodge on there. Certainly looks like the type of place that I would go and hang out for a weekend. But this is your leader, David Strid, as he continues around. He last pitted on lap number 18, and I think he's going to try to do a very long stint for this one. Last lap was a 158.93, which is actually pretty quick compared to Jason Lowe's 158.69, so pretty much equivalent. And we'll see as Strid comes across the stripe this next time. And again, his last lap just 0.2 off of his fastest lap, so like not much time degradation there at all. 159.37 this last time for David Strid, so little bit of fall off starting to happen, but not enough that you would say it's a problem. Do have Iñigo Mardones, who had an off track. Let's go ahead and take a step back here. Oops. Not sure if this will be it, and it is. Oh my goodness, he really... Oh, that car really took in... He started to turn, and the car just kind of caught the edge of the track, and it sort of sucked him off to the right side of the track, making some slight contact there, and that's unfortunate. He has been up flirting with that top 5. Hopefully not too much damage to that machine, as he's currently in 7th, and he's gained 6 spots today, so you want to see someone, again, Iñigo Mardones, one of those drivers, has been in the league, he's put in the time, he's put in the races. Love to see him be able to get a podium or two. Looks like Iñigo's going to bring it in, though, and take service and probably fix that right front wing. We watch on, goes up on the jacks, and indeed gets a new right front wing, fills up the car, and underway once again. So he'll come back out in 7th position, and the last car on the lead lap. David Strid, though, is just about to come to 10 laps remaining. He's yet to make that final pit stop, and we'll find out how this will all shake out. pit stop wise here momentarily. And let's take you back here momentarily. This was not that long ago. Jason Lowe making his attempt to get around Graham Bunyan. Side by side, they were running. Lowe has to back out of it. They continue. We move forward with that battle, and this was just moments later again. That's just a replay of what we were watching, but it showed us a couple of different passes. So Jason Lowe, Graham Bunyan still embroiled in this battle here for 4th place on the track. You wouldn't believe it, but they know what's at stake here. And I know that Jason Lowe has come on to the post interviews and stressed how he's not really thinking about championship picture, but I mean, anytime you're around Graham Bunyan and you got a chance to put a pass on him and maybe keep him in check in terms of the points, well, what's that they say? If there's a gap and you don't go for it, you're not really a racer. But you know, I have my own feelings on that. Dominic Harte, though, going off track just a moment ago. Let's see how bad this off track was. Gets a little loose, a little squirrely on braking, and yeah, that's a little bit of an off track, but one of those ones that here at Spa-Francorchamps, there's a few places you can have an off track and then you can still keep going fast. So that one didn't really cost him too much, but Dominic's had an up and down day, currently running in 6th. He's lost a spot, but again, the fact that he was much further back in the field really kind of signifies he's actually having a decent turnaround today. So David Strid continuing in the lead. He's only got 9 clicks to go this time. It's just, that's how you got to do it. You got to just make it one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Before you know it, you're on that last lap, and then you suddenly have a mini heart attack and throw it all away in the last couple of corners. No, you don't do that. You, no, it's so important to keep composure. I mean, that it's very real, as we saw Mauro there pitting out of 3rd. So falling back, that puts Ensch up into the 2nd spot. Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe, there it is. Bunyan and Lowe still fighting it out. Who's going to take 3rd position? Lowe looks right, looks left. He's going to try. No, backs out of the pass. Graham Bunyan doing his best Michael Schumacher impersonation, holding down the middle of this track. Hey, I'll tell you what, one of my random memories of Spa-Francorchamps is in the rain. Michael Schumacher doing his best impersonation of himself, just sort of holding the middle of the track. And then he comes across a wounded car of David Coulthard, who holds off to the side. He just absolutely plows into him. I don't know if anybody is out there remembering that race at the same time, but that was certainly something, quite an impression on me in my younger years. Great master Michael Schumacher, master in the wet, and just kind of getting it wrong one lap, just not really, I guess, paying attention or something. Just didn't see the spray. So it's possible you could kind of be in the zone, be in the, just boogieing with the car right and left and having a good old time, and the next thing you know, something unpredictable happens. So just up in front of those two, Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe, is Ensch holding down 2nd place. Now, he came in, his last time that he pitted was on lap 18, so he's due for a pit stop. Now David Strid into the pits. You heard the alarm. Strid into the pits. Will Ensch be 2nd? We know that Bunyan and Lowe, I mean, they kind of both, I think, still have to come into the pits. So we see Ensch now making his way in, and Bunyan and Lowe. Bunyan, very late entry. I don't know if they're going to get credit for that entry, because I do not know whether you have to be inside that other cone or not on pit entry, but my goodness me, this could be big implications here. We do have a note that Mike West did go off track. I think that was what we saw just in front of these drivers, but we'll watch on here as Jason Lowe gets out in front of Graham Bunyan, and Bunyan in front of Dan Ensch. So Lowe with a fantastic pit stop, and he emerges in front of his nemesis and rival here in the championship, Graham Bunyan. So I'm not sure whether he short-filled or how exactly he did it, but Lowe getting ahead of Bunyan in the pits, both of them getting ahead of Dan Ensch. Was much slower, unfortunately, getting in and out. And hey, you can't fault, Dan. I mean, yeah, sometimes it does come down to that time that's made or lost in the pits, but at the same time, it's important to just make sure that you do it safely and accurately so that you don't, like, overshoot your box or make another mistake in pitting. And so now David Strid in that lead. He's got just 8 more laps to go. The crowd's starting to sense the end is near, starting to cheer, gathering up their belongings, getting ready to head for the parking lot soon. I don't know why they're going there, as they'll just beam back to their virtual stands back to their houses. Dominic Harte finds himself up in 3rd. Now, he last came in on lap 24, and we do have another note of Mike West here. Is this just another turn 1? And it is. He just kind of runs wide there and through turn 1. But your current top running order: David Strid, Mauro, MJ, Ramirez, 20 seconds back. Dominic Harte just 3 seconds adrift of that. And Jason Lowe in 4th place. So Jason quite removed from where David Strid is, 27 seconds back. It's pretty amazing stuff has shaken loose here in the course of this running. It was Jason Lowe who had taken over the lead from Graham Bunyan, who took pole position. Managed to get past David Strid and get past Graham Bunyan early on, but then some interesting doings had him have to make an extra stop, and David Strid appears to be the one who is in position to possibly take this victory here today. But still some more laps to go, and we'll have to see how this one finally plays out, whether all these drivers can make it on the fuel that they have on board. Graham Bunyan, your 5-time defending champion, currently running in 5th place, as Jason Lowe just up in front, now taking a look at the backside on Howard Livingston. He's racing for Care Camps, of course. And it'll be great this season. Unfortunately, last season, as we watch Graham Bunyan, he might have a play here at Jason Lowe. He's looking very competitive right now. Jason Lowe holds to the outside. They go side by side through Blanchimont. And Graham Bunyan takes over the position. Jason not going to try to take him back into the braking area of the chicane. So these two, I'm sure, could potentially swap positions again. We'll keep an eye on this battle between these two legendary rivals here in the International IndyCar League. As we flash back a little bit further, here's Dan Ensch. He was right up there in the top 5. He may be again, as a couple of these drivers still probably going to make another pit stop before we're done. But Ensch, racing for that Als.org Last Lap Motorsports, currently running in 6th place. He's lost a couple of spots. The Necky Racing Team driver, Iñigo Mardones, they're in 7th place. And, well, Manuel Gomez Esteban for Team Mazinger, he's crept back up into 8th place. So it just shows you that you just got to keep your head down, even if you have a problem, a little crash, a little spin. Gomez Esteban getting it done here today and holding down a top 10 position. Iñigo Mardones back into the pits. It's one of the drivers that will take that final pit stop and get his final fuel to make it the last few laps. David Strid, though, doing fine out here on a virtual Sunday at virtual Spa-Francorchamps in virtual Belgium, thanks to iRacing and the wonderful world of simulated motorsport. He didn't have to leave his house at all. And yet he gets to get out there, the lights, the sounds, and the smells, pretty, you can almost smell it. I don't even know if that's where Belgian waffles come from, but I'm thinking of a Belgian waffle right now. Of course, it's breakfast time over here, 8:15 a.m., where David and Graham are racing from. It's the middle of the night, quite literally. But, hey, you know, Brenner always sounds good. Who doesn't like a 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. like pancakes or, you know, some sort of breakfast? As Dominic Harte does pull it down into the pits, as we were suspecting, so he'll vacate that third position. And that will move Graham Bunyan up into the final podium position with Jason Lowe in tow. So, Bunyan on the button here, trying to run away from Lowe. Graham Bunyan has 7 pushes left. And it looks like Jason Lowe with 6 pushes left. Mauro Ramirez, 9 pushes of push to pass. And David Strid, 7 pushes still remaining. So nobody really with a significant advantage there. But Jason Lowe does have enough in the bank that if he wants to try to run down Graham and didn't call it too close on fuel, he certainly can do that. We have Robert Barnicow having a moment here. Ooh, took a little bit too much curb coming through there. As a result, not the right line, and that is unfortunately right in front of your leader, David Strid, and my goodness me, that was far too close for comfort. I'm sure David's sweating a little bullets after making it through that. Let's jump on board from David's point of view and see what that even looked like. There, he's going off on the right. You're wondering what's going to happen. And as we look backwards, there's Barnicow going across the track and slamming into the wall. But I don't know if David was watching in his mirrors at that exact moment, but my goodness, I'd be relieved and a little scared. David on the button at the moment, pushing hard up there in first. You know who else has been pushing hard, but hardly pushing? And that's Mauro MJ Ramirez. That's kind of his style. He doesn't go out there and overdrive the car. He takes the opportunities that are possible. He is going to have to watch out for a very rapidly approaching Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe, though, who desperately are coveting that second place because it will mean they can add to their points total. But one thing these other drivers do have to keep in mind is that although Mauro is new-ish to the league, as in just a few seasons he's been part, he is the chief steward. So one thing to keep in mind, even though these other drivers are part of the admin team, you never really want to go up and start hassling, nor do you want to hit the chief steward, because I'm pretty sure it's going to result in a pretty hefty fine or penalty at the end of the race. Of course, we don't really do fines here. Would that be cool if we could, though? My goodness. Don't get me started on that. I'd love to see like virtual currency that you have in iRacing, where you have to like pay for crashes and pay for fines and stuff like that. Sort of make people think twice about racing unsafely. Could be interesting. Some people have argued that you should have to put real money on the line, and I'm like, oh, it already costs enough to do iRacing. I don't want to make it that close to real life racing that we're gonna go broke, because that's why I don't do real life racing, is it costs so much money. But nevertheless, Graham Bunyan trying to track Mauro. Mauro, oh my goodness, gets it a little sideways, and now they'll race side by side down to the La Source hairpin, but kind of Mauro gives it up and realizes Graham kind of got the better of him with that half C spin, quarter spin. So Mauro's going to try to hang on to this spot here. Graham's on the button coming through Eau Rouge, so let's just see how fast he's going. 181, 182 on our tracker. 183 miles per hour, and in the draft that can get up over 190. So it is a fast drive around SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS. Graham Bunyan has managed to get his way back into second position, and he's just got to close it out to get some of those valuable points away from Jason Lowe in this championship. And this is the hardest way to do it, to have to make passes and try and defend position, but Graham doing a fantastic job of that and not really giving any room to Jason Lowe to be able to take that position back. But really, you have to just call attention to the amazing strategy employed here by David Strid. Assuming that he can hold on, as he did come in on the same lap as Graham Bunyan, we'll have to hear from Graham exactly what happened and caused him to have to fall back and you know, lose about 20-some seconds on the rest of the field, or on the leaders. Here's Iñigo Mardones just a moment ago. I think this is just another La Source off track. Wow, really sliding those tires there. One realism factor that's not yet employed in iRacing that I think a lot of drivers would love to see is flat spots, because flat spots on tires, when you lock up your brakes and it basically creates a flat surface as it holds the same position, and you roll over the ground or you slide over the ground, it wears the tire and then creates a flat spot. That creates vibration, it creates loss of traction, loss of grip, and so it affects real-life racing greatly. And certainly in these very delicate race cars that have soft tires, you can wear a flat spot very quickly. And so that is something that is not present in iRacing. You do get an overheat on that tire if you do lock it up. So there is that sort of simulation there. But just one of those factors that you would like to see maybe iRacing introduce, and I'm sure if their tire model would accommodate that, then they would do so. Jason Lowe having an off track just a moment ago. Take a look at that. Oh, this, once again, I think just a La Source off track, carrying a little bit of extra speed, barely pushing it off track. And I tell you, it's one of those things that's just so easy to do. It's ridiculous how easy it is to do something like that in that particular corner exit. You want to get on the gas right out of La Source. So watch David here roll through the corner and do so. Takes a very conservative exit. He's going to start this final lap here. Cross under Barney the flag man, who waves that white flag next to the track. Not sure why he's not up in the flag stand, but whatever. Like, Barney, you know, you'll have to, like, hang out on the ground, you know. No penance to do, buddy. You've earned it. You get up there in that flag stand. But David Strid, this has just been a masterful drive today. He, of course, he builds the setups this week. Not always does he build the setups every single week, but most of the weeks he does. And usually has an instrumental hand, even if he's not the only one touching those setups. But Strid, really, he not only built the setup, he didn't qualify on the pole, but anyway, it looked like Jason Lowe may have even had the speed on him here today. But when he had the opportunity to take over the lead, he didn't look back, and he was able to execute at an extremely high level, still holding a 20-second advantage over Graham Bunyan. 22 seconds now back to third place Mauro MJ Ramirez, and really holding off anyone's attempt to try to make a pass or get by him today. Graham Bunyan what can be said for the 5-time champ? Love a chance to chat with him here post-race, and we'll hopefully get a chance to do that here today. Mauro holding on to third. There was a chance there for a moment that he might get eclipsed, and that it might be, in fact, Jason Lowe who would take over that third spot, but nevertheless, not the case here today. At least not thus far. Still got a couple more corners to go, but no more corners left. David Strid takes victory here, the SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS Classic. Congratulations to Strid, who will increase his points here in the league, and we'll have to see how close it gets between himself and Graham Bunyan, but he managed to take a bonus point, and I don't know if he got bonus points for leading the most laps, but Strid will put some points over his teammate, yes, but also kind of his rival, Graham Bunyan. I mean, certainly if David wants to win races or win championships, he'll have to go through Graham Bunyan. So it's something to consider, even though they're friends. I mean, at some point you are racing. Jason Lowe, 4th place. Kind of a difficult day for Lowe because, you know, he was up there in the lead and unfortunately had to fall back. Dan Ensch is going to hang on for 5th place. I'm not sure if he's still racing. No, he's not. He's actually finished the race. So all these drivers now finishing up. Dominic Harte pulling it in. I think Iñigo Mardones, I believe the race is checkered, but some of these drivers may be finishing up the laps that they're on. As, yes, it has not gone official yet. So Mardones finishing up here. And once again, how that happens is if you're just in front of the leaders, for example, and the leader crosses the start-finish and finishes the race, you still have to complete your lap that you're on. Still a live track. So Mardones finishing up. And there he goes across. Or no, I'm sorry. He'll come through La Source here and then take this checkered flag. But the celebrations continue for David Strid. Graham Bunyan's got to feel somewhat celebratory as he'll take 2nd place today. And of course, MJ Ramirez, fantastic race. Score that podium. We'll get a chance to chat with him here momentarily. So make sure, stick around with us as we get set for our post-race interviews here on VirtualRacing.Network. Catching up with some of these drivers momentarily. And now we'll take a look at the post-race results. And there it is on your screen, your final post-race results. David Strid taking not the pole position, but certainly taking several bonus points today for leading laps and finishing at the top of the board. Your winner by 18.5 seconds over Graham Bunyan, as we see, unfortunately, Mauro Ramirez and Graham Bunyan get into each other, and I don't know if Dan Ensch caught that post-checkered flag. There's Jason Lowe, Mauro Ramirez coming home 3rd. Jason Lowe in 4th. Dan Ensch bringing it home in 5th. Dominic Harte in 6th place. Iñigo Mardones sticking around and getting 7th. Manuel Gomez Esteban in 8th. Howard Livingston hanging on and getting 9th place. Must have been rough. I know he's still kind of got an ankle bothering him a little bit, but still great to have him in there and getting a top 10. Hey, it's not even an oval, and he's still getting top 10. It's great to have Howard back. Mike West finishing in 10th place. He had a couple of incidents today, but once again, you know, if you want those points, you want to be in that championship, you got to race, and still holding on to a top 10, that's the way to do it. Rick Lovison, really difficult day today. You know, road courses, not a lot of many of these drivers' favorite things, and so Rick just hanging in there and putting in the laps and getting 11th today. Great to have him in the field. Robert Barnicow also in 12th. David Worrell in 13th. Will Stearns in 14th. And Jimmy Drennan rounding out the field. Kind of a DNS today. So we look on over here as Strid has crashed and parked it. So let's see if we can catch up with some of these drivers here in our post-race victory circle and see who's available to us. Hoping that we get a chance to talk with... Yes, we do see him popping in there. So why don't we go ahead and chat with our third place finisher. And what a fantastic run today. Mauro MJ Ramirez checking in with us post-race here. Hey, Mauro, you got me? All right. Wow, what a fantastic race for you today. I mean, just talk us through it. It seemed like you were like top 5 and then maybe looking at top 4. And then it seemed like something happened with Graham and Jason, dropped them back. You were up there as high as second for a while, finishing the race on a podium. Congratulations. Just tell us how your race went today.
All the issues that I had today were all self-inflicted, just overdriving a corner here and there. Luckily, nothing that prevented me from crashing, and I was able to make it up, but it definitely affected my position. I'm not sure what transpired with the other 2 drivers, with Jason and Graham. I was just racing the track and happy as heck to finally get a podium. It's been so long.
It has been a while, but you know, that's all part of it, isn't it, right? You got to show up for every race and be ready to take that podium when the opportunity presents itself. Is it a coincidence that you pulled it off here on a road course, let alone this legendary SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS track? Have you been practicing road courses? Are you a big fan of road courses? Is it something that you've raced this track a bunch?
Well, you know, before I started racing IndyCar, I was not proficient at road courses, so I raced a lot of F3. And as you know, this is one of their main tracks, so I've raced it several times in that series. This is the first time I've actually raced it in Indy. So yes, I happen to love the track. So I did put a lot of practice time in with on Saturday and yesterday morning. And I didn't think I was going to be good enough for a podium because I was only, you know, like the top 5 because these guys are so good. But I was able to capitalize on whatever mistakes they made, and here I am. So I'm very, very, very grateful.
Well, and that's just it is, you know, again, you did take advantage at the right time and you did keep the car on the track. Now, a lot of drivers kind of struggling and putting a wheel off, etc. But you kept your nose pretty clean today. There was a moment where you did kind of have a half spin, but you managed to correct that one. What is it like to go out there and have to hold the car on track? Make sure you don't do those off tracks. Make sure every single corner you're hitting the right lines, because I mean, let's be truthful. If, for example, La Source hairpin, if you gas it too much, you go around there. You could go off track quite easily. There's a lot of places you could get into trouble here. What is it to like keep that concentration the whole way as you did?
Well, it's exactly what you said. Your focus has to be, so dialed in. There's no margin for error because of the high speeds, and even the low speed corners. If you approach them with too much gas, it's all, how much you're giving your inputs, and that's what I focused on. And I also was running in map 5 to try to conserve as much as I could until the end when Graham caught up to me, and I knew I could make it to the end. I finally got to 1, but Graham being who he is, I couldn't catch him. But yeah, just focus, and if you're daydream for a second, you've made a mistake.
Well, and that is that's exactly how you make that kind of progress, as you talked about, just not really even getting much road course racing in before getting into IndyCar, then starting with F3 and then trying to make progress, and now finding yourself, I mean, you finished behind David Strid, who's won many races here in the league, as you know, Graham Bunyan, 5-time defending champion, Jason Lowe finishing just behind you, 3-time champion recently since we started covering the league. I mean, you're in some pretty good company. You got Dan Ensch finishing behind you, super experienced on road courses, as obviously much more on ovals as well, but I mean, you're in some good company, MJ, and I mean, if you keep progressing in this way, we may see you up there in victory circle after all.
Well, that's my goal, and these guys definitely, help me get better every week, because they set the bar so high, and that only helps people like myself, that aren't as experienced get better than racing with people that are as good as you. So I am so happy and thankful that I'm on the podium today. And like I said, I was not anticipating it, so it makes it even that much better.
Well, I know on behalf of all the racers and all the fans out there watching, we appreciate also what you're doing for the league and taking over that steward spot. It's quite a bit of work to go through all these races and assign the penalties and be fair at the same time, but you've done a very good job of that, and you're stepping into the role and really starting to increase a lot of different areas of that. So we're all grateful for that. Anybody else that you'd like to thank before we move on to our other finishers?
Yes, I'd like to thank yourself for the wonderful job you do every weekend. I want to thank David Strid for the best setups that I've ever driven, and I mean that. Just gives us solid, fair setups that are drivable, flexible, and then of course just the entire league and everyone that participates week in and week out. I'm very grateful to be a part of it, and I love being with this group.
And I mean, you can't say it more succinctly than that. Love being with the group, and I love covering the league. So let's keep putting on good shows and keep this thing going. How does that sound?
Sounds like a great idea, and hopefully I can just get some momentum from this for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. This is it. So build on this one. We'll see you for the back half of this season. A bunch of ovals to do. You ready for making a mount at this championship the last half?
My goal is to finish in the top 5, so I'm going to give what I can.
There you go. Mauro MJ Ramirez checking in here post-race. He'll take 3rd place for the 7th race of the 16th season. Congratulations to him and the rest of his team. So we'll move on now and talk with our 2nd place finisher, Graham Bunyan, who, what a fantastic run today for Graham. I mean, Graham, you took pole position, which was something else just to see you, cement, even after David Strid had such a fantastic speed in practice and speed there in qualifying. You still managed to take pole. But Graham, you slid back. Now, what happened today that we didn't catch it? There were no notes today. What happened in your race, and how did you end up, you and Jason, sliding back in the order and having to work your way back to 2nd?
Well, first off, hi. I had a 29-second pit penalty on pit exit.
That is it.
So I was pretty filthy with myself, which then I think must have confused Jason, because he must have thought I stopped in for a quick splash and dash to take off again. So, I ended up with a drive-through penalty. So I served that and off I went.
That's why we couldn't quite figure it out. It didn't look like you had violated anything coming in. There was no notes of you spinning or anything like that. So, well, that's an unfortunate thing. But you did manage to work your way back to 2nd place. Since you're so much involved in this championship, this isn't like previous seasons where you're necessarily running off the front of this championship. You have to work for every point that you're going to get if you're going to get this 6th straight championship. So must feel pretty good to ultimately emerge ahead of Jason Lowe, who is in the lead of the championship. But you finished 20 seconds back of Strid, and Strid's still ahead of you. So I don't know. It's as we get down to the end of this season, are you starting to feel the pinch, or do you think you still got time with the remaining oval races to be able to claw back up there and get your 6th straight championship?
Look, I'll give it a go. I think I've got time to get back up there and do it, but it just depends on where I finish. I've had a crap start to the season, crap middle part of the season, so it's all been downhill and backwards, and it's starting to close back up and come back up again. But hats off to David. I blew that race myself. That should have been mine to take, and I was just puttering along behind the two of them and saving the fuel to make it to that nine laps was the crucial lap, so you cut out that extra pit stop. So I think that's where it may have thrown Jason out with that pit stop that I did, which was a penalty. But Dave supplied an excellent setup this week. Absolutely outstanding setup. I can't thank him enough for that setup. one to definitely keep.
And yeah, definitely one to hold on to. And of course, these, I mean, theoretically, you could always use it as a starting point to go do open racing or do other leagues where there are open setups available. As if it's raceable and you can make passes, why not carry it over and see if you can use it? But hey, Graham, what a fantastic chance to come back here today. You fought hard. You had to keep Jason in check there after that round of pit stops. I mean, he tried to lunge at you a couple of times, but you held him off. Great defensive move. I made a comment that it was much like Michael Schumacher kind of owning the middle of the track there. That must have been quite a thrill to try to defend Jason at the heights of speed here at Spa.
Oh, look, when he came out in front of me there on that last pit stop, I thought I may have been dusted, but the only reason I ran the blacks the whole race was you could actually give them full throttle the whole race, where the reds would drop off towards the last 3 laps, would drop off nearly a full second to a second and a half. So I knew I had him on pace with the blacks. Again, I was just running around behind on the blacks while those two were up the front there on their reds. But yeah, I had to defend the line. I had to make it hard. I wasn't going to make it easy. So yeah, kudos to him though. He did well. And MJ did awesomely well to finish 3rd on the podium. And Dan Ensch to finish in the top 5. Everybody did well today.
Yeah, it was one of those races, just talking with them about drivers who managed to keep their cool out there, and obviously you having a chance as well to lose your cool when, you know, you make a mistake and it costs you severely. Having to come back into the pits is its own penalty. Then having to serve a penalty in the pits is even just, yeah, it's salt in a wound on top of another wound. But you have to keep your head down, and you've got to recover yourself and start making smart decisions and not let your emotions get the worst of you, because you can just throw it off the track and make another mistake. So really, Graham, talk about that. Like, you make that mistake, you've got to refocus, you got to not get emotional. Even if you've been passed because of your mistake, you just got to remount that challenge. What's it like for you to refocus and get back on track? What do you do? Is there a breathing? Is there a, what's your thing, man?
Mate, I did all of the above that you just said. I was unfocused. I was cranky. I was very cranky. I think I had 2 off tracks due to being cranky as well. So yeah, it was a matter of just a couple of the guys talking to me and getting my head cool again, and yeah, just focus forward. I had to. I threw it away for myself, and I was cranky with myself. I always find that I drive a lot faster when I'm cranky anyway, so I think the lap time there sort of shows it. But yeah, crazy. I'm still kicking myself.
Well, you'll kick yourself for a little while, but we'll see how it all works out at the end of the season. Maybe these points not quite as valuable, but still, David in the right place to possibly take this 16th season championship, and it's something that will become a real focus here in the next couple of races as these ones work themselves out. Of course, we return back to ovals, and we start with the ALS.org Awareness 180 at Iowa. And then afterwards, we've got Vegas, Atlanta, 2 D-shaped ovals, Milwaukee, everyone's favorite small 1 mile oval, and then Indy, of course, to end it with the Care Camps 250. Your thoughts on a return back to the ovals as we finish up this broadcast here today?
I love road, but yeah, no, look, going back to the ovals there, Iowa, I'm fast at Iowa. I love Iowa. Vegas isn't too bad. Atlanta's not too bad. Milwaukee Mile, I love Milwaukee. Not many people like Milwaukee, but and then of course the last big one there is Indy, and anything can happen in Indy, as we know 2 seasons ago. But yeah, look, I think it's good. I think the last 5 tracks are pretty good. So you know, it's like I said at the end of last season, I do believe there will be a new champion this season, and stay tuned to who it's going to be. I guess I'll make it hard, but it's definitely going to be somebody else, I'm quite sure.
Well, for sure, stay tuned. There's multiple drivers it could be, and I think as we get closer to the end, that will be ringing in everyone's ears about how close this championship really is. Hey, congratulations on your second place there, and also congratulations to David Stritt, assuming that he's listening still. Love to have him in a post-race chat sometime, but the victor of today's race, and we'll see you next week, Graham. Congratulations on taking that second place.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Trevor, and thanks for everything you do up there, mate. I know I haven't been here enough to say it, but well done. And thanks to everybody in the International IndyCar League for turning up, and Jason for getting it all going.
Absolutely. Great thank yous from all of these drivers involved, and very gracious. So great when they, of course, I love it when they thank me. But it's so great that this is really a community here. And to be honest with you, with 15 drivers showing up for today's race, I was kind of expecting more like 9 or 8. And I'm just, it's growing every single week. So for anybody out there, if you love watching this, make sure you subscribe. Hit that big button that says subscribe on it if you're not already. You'll be watching all our races every Sunday here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And make sure to like this video as well. And stay tuned next week. It's a great one. Iowa, the owls.org Iowa race presented by Dan Ensch. We'll see you next week, everyone. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Get lots of rest and drink lots of water. It's very important for your health. All right. That's all my health tips for the week. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.